Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're joining us. I am Robin Denton. I'm a school teacher and a health and wellness educator and enthusiast. And I want to introduce, first of all, my guest today is Heather Turner. Heather, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Heather is a teacher at Manley Elementary School. She's married and has two beautiful children. And her husband leads worship at Manley Baptist Church. So they're very involved there and have amazing voices. You should check them out if you haven't heard them sing. So today we are going to be talking about Heather's daughter had some issues when she was 1 year old. Is that correct?
That's correct.
With constipation. And so, first of all, I just want to say, number one, Heather or I are not doctors or nurses, or we do not diagnose, treat, or cure any medical disease. We are just here to share Heather's story today. I created this podcast because of my own health journey, and I'm so thankful that I was able to get well using natural solutions. And so that is that's my reason for starting this podcast, because I think if we can inspire other people, just to give them hope to not give up on finding some healing. It is out there and God has it for them. They just can't give up. So anyway, let's get started. So tell me, first of all, about your daughter before she started having issues.
Okay. Annie was born, she was a full-term birth. I did deliver her by C-section, but she was born healthy. I decided to breastfeed her and had success for a whole year. So we were coming up on that year mark and had come over the hump of it, and I had weaned her from nursing and had just started her outright on whole milk, and of course solid foods, as I did that periodically leading up to that. But after that moment, I mean, we had good health checks. There were no concerns. She was growing as expected and just really delightful. But when we hit that 1 year mark, I noticed a difference in her bowel movements. Before then, they were very regular, had no trouble with her, acting like she had a stomach ache or, was not in any discomfort that I had ever noted, until we started the whole foods and the milk. So it started out kind of like every third day we would have a bad day. And it would be so severe, sometimes it would just be like you would have to stay home because it was a constant crying, like just whining, crying. You knew she didn't feel well. She wanted to be held all the time. I couldn't really leave her side. And, at that point, I just thought, well, maybe it's teething. You go through all these questions about what it possibly could be, but it started to be such a pattern that I thought something is up.
And
so I reached out. Yes. Because they can't tell you, I have a tummy ache, I can't go potty. They can't tell you that at that point.
Yeah.
So I reached out to my pediatrician, who we love and is fantastic. And she said, why don't you give her a little bit of Miralax in her juice or whatever you're giving her, the milk, every day until we see some success. Well, there was a bit of success. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was better than our bad days. So I did that for probably about a month, thinking I would see some change. And then, of course, I started reading labels and hearing horror stories about continual use over a prolonged period of time with this product. And just had a check in my spirit about it as a mom. And, if you're a mom, that check, like,
Yes.
Nobody said anything. Nobody, you've not even read anything. It's just a feeling, you know. And I do believe that was the Holy Spirit just having me, wait, Heather, you know, this is not the best course.
Yes.
So I expressed my concern with the pediatrician, and she said, you know, it's okay. It's such a small dosage. It's going to be fine. You know, continue to use it maybe every other day now.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and still felt a check. Not any real success, you know. It wasn't every third day now. Maybe every other week she would have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to other doctors, friends of mine that I respect, and their word was the same, Miralax. That was the only course of action I was offered by doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt, surely there's something that we're feeding her, something environmental that is just kind of keeping her worked up and knotted up inside, that she can't use the bathroom well, you know, just a simple everyday thing that we take for granted sometimes.
Yes.
So it got so extreme, like every third day it was bad. Well, we had planned, the breakthrough for me came when we went to dinner at a friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for the evening, and she was fine all day, but when we got there, she started the whining. She started the being clingy and saying, I went potty. She, at that point, she could say, I went poo-poo.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would go to change her, and there would be nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just ended up taking her to the van, and Annie and I sat in the van, and I just tried to console her as best I could while my husband and our son had dinner with friends. And I thought, this is no way to live, you know?
That's frustrating when every third day you're at home, you can't, you know, you plan things and then can't follow through with them. And we know that that happens with babies sometimes, but it's not okay to be happening all the time.
All the time, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And just to see how miserable she was, it was heartbreaking, you know?
I want to let you know real quick, I looked up some statistics that 22.6% of children in the United States deal with constipation.
Yeah.
Chronic constipation. And so I thought, well, how many babies are that? How many children are that? And so there are 4 million babies born every year here in the United States. So each year, that is 177,000 children that are dealing with this, maybe unnecessarily. So I want you to know how much of an impact that your story can be as you share it, because if it helps just one person, I'm in.
Yes.
That's fantastic. But you have the opportunity to have a big impact on and give some of these, especially these really young mothers that, you know, it's their first baby. They don't know. It's just really scary when you're young and it's your first one.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm so thankful that you're sharing this. So tell us what happens.
Okay, so my dear friends came out, or I think at one point I had gone back into the house to try again to sit and have dinner. And she said, okay, I have someone you need to go see. She said she's all about healing through food and natural supplements. And she said, my daughter hasn't experienced this, but she did have severe skin issues. And she said, I got all the same answer from every doctor I visited, and pretty much had made her feel like she was crazy, you know? Yeah. And she said, someone shared this doctor's name with me. I went, and she confirmed what I thought it was. And her story was all about food dye, coloring in food. And it, you know, when she stopped that, she saw miraculous differences in her daughter's skin. Yeah. She said, I think you would benefit from taking Annie to this lady.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm willing to try anything because
Yeah.
I know there's another answer, but I just haven't found the person who's going to help me get
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And so I called and scheduled an appointment the very next morning. And her practice is nutrition. Is it nutrition response testing? I want to say that correctly.
It is. And for those of you who don't know what that is, nutrition response testing, you test your reflex for each of your body systems to see what agrees with your body and what your body does not agree with. So sometimes we have too many toxins or even proteins and things from food or milk that we can't break down.
Mm-hmm.
And we either need some supplement or to remove something from our diet temporarily, but it's a reflex. So no blood test, no prodding and sticks and all this stuff. It's just a reflex. So a very easy thing to do, and
Mm-hmm.
it's extremely accurate.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for me, I'm a very in the box kind of girl.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a rule abider. I
Mm-hmm.
like a set of rules and I will follow them to a T. And, life is just happy for me if I can stay within my box.
Yes.
And this made me step outside of my box because I just never been exposed to this kind of treatment,
Yes. But when
Um,
you get desperate,
you do,
you're
yes.
ready to step. This was way outside of my box too. I didn't.
Yes.
But when you're desperate and frustrated, and especially when it's your baby, that's your
Mm-hmm.
heart. So
Yes.
yeah.
So she did the testing on Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, I think it's a dietary issue. And I said, yes, it is. Thank you so much. Yes, it is. Tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So she said, I think we need to come off wheat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to come off dairy. Not forever, but we're going to come off it until we get her bowel moving like it should. So that appointment was at about 5:30 that evening. I left the office. I went and made sure she had a dinner free of wheat, free of dairy.
Mm-hmm.
And then she provided a natural laxative
Mm-hmm.
cleansing to include in her juice. And she said, just use this until she has a bowel movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave it to her the next morning. And she had also given me a probiotic to give her to start healing that little gut of hers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was 5:30 one evening. And by 5:30 the next evening, after I had cut wheat and dairy for just a couple meals and one dose of the natural laxative, she had a normal bowel movement with no crying, no whining. We had a great day. And I was like, I'm done. I'm a believer. This is my miracle. And I just started praising the Lord for it because I had waited too long to get that answer.
I've seen over and over this similar story with different ailments, but your body will heal itself amazingly quick. Like it is
Yes.
amazing at how fast your body heals itself when you give it the nutrition and things that God provides,
Mm-hmm.
not outside chemicals and toxins. And
Yes.
I just want to take a second here to say that I looked up some of the side effects for Miralax.
It's awful.
And they are, more tummy troubles, possibly diarrhea. And those are like the common side effects. But the long-term side effects are the ones that they don't want to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
such as anxiety, panic attacks, personality changes, such as anger and aggression, and obsessive compulsive behavior, which we see, we see that in a lot of children.
Mm-hmm.
So 2,000 families have actually contacted the FDA from the United States complaining about these side effects, and I don't think they were heard because they now have attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about how many children, 177,000 new people, new babies born each year having this
Right.
issue, and told just take Miralax, and anyway, that's a
Yeah.
lot of wrong.
Mhm. Well, and Miralax is convenient.
Yeah.
You can get it anywhere.
Mhm.
You just put a little powder in the drink, and it's supposed to be the miracle worker, and it's
Mhm.
just not. And in my quiet time this week, the devotion I used talked about when we look at the Word of God, often in all those Bible stories we know there's a moment of inconvenience.
Mm.
And so often we can see the wonder of the Lord out of our inconvenience.
Yes.
And could we even see it? And so I just saw the miracle of what he can do in that horrible inconvenience. You know, it was very inconvenient to drive. You know, I had to drive quite a ways to see this doctor. You know, it's inconvenient to get these probiotics that are best. They're not sold in my town. I can't go to, you know, the local grocery store and pick it up.
They might cost a little more.
They definitely
Mhm.
cost a lot more,
Uh-huh.
but I would pay it tenfold because
Yeah.
of the difference I saw.
Yeah. And then it's not, I eat gluten-free, and that's not convenient either.
No.
It requires a mind shift, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to be to the point that you're ready to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what um, Annie is like now, or is it like after you know have started this? Tell me. I know you had success really quickly in 24
Yes,
hours. Did that continue? What?
it did. She's not had an issue really since then.
And she's how old?
She's 5.
Okay.
So this happened at 1. From about 1 to 2 was about a year that we had that
Mm-hmm.
difficult time, and now she's 5. After we did the wheat-free, dairy-free for a good solid year very strictly,
Mm-hmm.
and continued the probiotic to help heal her gut. And then gradually after that year, I started introducing things back because she is a yogurt eater and loves cheese and all that good stuff. So we had to be very creative about that in the year we didn't do dairy. So I started kind of introducing things back into her diet, and she was fine with it. It didn't stop her up, you know. She was
Good.
continuing to live a good, healthy life. So she's back. We don't restrict her diet as far as wheat and dairy right now, but as soon as she has issues, I know what to pull. You know, I just
Yes.
stop the wheat and stop the dairy for a few days, to, you know, however long it takes, which is usually pretty much the next day she's okay again, you know.
Yeah, I feel like our body can just get overloaded, and it
Mm-hmm.
just with some things it can't process. Um, I will mention that our regular milk that we buy at the store, the enzyme to digest that milk is actually taken out of it, and that's why so many people have trouble digesting milk.
Right.
And there's other milk that you can try, but anyway, okay, well, what would you say, Heather, to other people who are suffering from this same issue, the crying and constipation and irritability with their babies? What would you say to them?
I would say, you know, we are given a mommy instinct. And so sometimes our pediatricians that we love and adore, they may not provide the answer we need. They may not provide that course of action. And it's okay to take your medical, not history, but your means or modes to a more healthy living. It's okay to kind of take the steering wheel in your own hands. This is your life, and this is your baby's lives, right?
Yes.
These are your kiddos, and you're with them more than anyone. You know them better more than anyone. So it's okay to explore other options.
Yes.
I just love the blend that I found of natural and modern medicine. There is a place for both.
Absolutely.
And so I just think, talk to friends, talk about it, share with other mamas who are just a little bit ahead of you. I've had friends that have, when Annie was born, I had friends with, 4 and 5-year-olds. And I would say, did you experience this? What have you seen? And it was through my friend whose little girl was just about 2 or 3 years older than Annie that led me to this success story, that led me to this precious doctor that got Annie on the right track again. So
Yes.
don't be afraid to talk about it. I would just constantly ask questions of those you admire and respect.
Yes. Well, I think that's some great advice, because as we can encourage each other and share our experiences, we just kind of can urge each other along to the right path for each of us, because that looks different for everybody. So, well, Heather, I appreciate you being on here so much, and I'm so excited because I know you're going to be that mentor for so many people. Because of this interview, as you shared your story, people are going to hear that and talk to their friends, or maybe contact you, or reach out to me, or whatever, to find their own solutions. And I just want to say to you that are listening that there are solutions. Just do not give up hope. God is our ultimate healer, and He wants us to have an abundant life. So we do not accept chronic illness here in this space. So anyway, I appreciate you being here. I thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait for people to hear this.
Thank you for having me, Robin.
You're welcome.